Hey Jared, how you
Hey,
doing, man?
hey, Chris, thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh,
Appreciate
thanks for
it.
having me. So you're known for your kind of transformations for each role, but one of the things that's really interesting about Morbius is that you get to start in one form and then kind of go through multiple transformations over the course of the movie. Was that something to you that like really drew you to the role? Because it's quite different, I think, from other superheroes in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. I liked the fact that there was a transformation built in to this character. It was like kind of tailored for me, and I also like the fact that this character has never been on screen before,
Yo,
and
yeah.
that I had an opportunity to bring it Morbius to life for the very first time. That's quite an honor.
One of the things that I thought was kind of cool is that even though you're a vampire in it, it had some similarities to like the Wolfman almost, which I really
Oh,
liked.
shit.
The fact that you can't control yourself, I thought that was really
Yeah.
cool. Um,
Yeah, the Wolfman. That's funny to talk about. I liked as well that there's a Jekyll and Hyde. There's this kind
sure.
of battle between good and evil, battle between your kind of primal impulses. It's a bit of a classic trope, but something kind of fundamentally fascinating about that too.
Well, I think people are drawn to it, right? I mean, I think that's why it's a trope. It's that people really like
Yeah,
that kind of story.
yeah.
So, also wanted to ask about the transformation physically because you've done all these movies with this amazing makeup, but you're using CGI enhanced makeup or special effect enhanced makeup. How is that different for you? Is that something because it feels like the role couldn't have been done really necessarily practically in that regard because you keep snapping back and forth between the characters.
Well, I fought for it,
Yeah.
and originally it was set up to be prosthetic,
Hmm.
and I really pushed hard to make sure that it was we use technology
Hmm.
because, like you said, I thought it would just give us so much more flexibility, uh, and I'm glad that we ended up in that place. I mean, it's an exciting way to work. I guess in a way, it's like it's the future.
Yeah,
So
of course.
it's always fun to kind of spend time there.
Why not if you have it in your toolbox? But what's cool is that, at times when he gets mad, you could see it kind of poking out a little bit, right? I thought that was really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, I did as well. I mean, I think those sorts of things, it would be fascinating to see that happen in a film that is not monstrous, that's not fantasy oriented. Like, what could you do? What are the subtle things that you could do to accentuate, makeup and other things in a completely realistic film too? I think that's pretty cool to think about.
Yeah.
Uh,
That'd be really
could
cool,
you
actually.
imagine in a scene where if you're getting angry or whatever, and that's they sometimes the lighting things will catch up, but you can increase like the blush of the skin or the red in the eyes, subtle things that would affect the audience in a powerful way. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of possibility with that.
Yeah.
Also, I have to ask, you've played a lot of really cool villains and stuff, but was it a treat to play this kind of heroic character as well? And the fact that you get to do a lot of action, and you really get to use like a lot of physicality in the role, I think, in a way that you aren't always allowed to do. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, like being kind of an action hero.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the super villain side of the fence,
Yeah.
so it was interesting to play a character that had a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Not exactly superhero, but has heroic qualities. And I think at his core, Michael Morbius is like this brilliant doctor. He's really selfless. He's searching for a cure, and he's a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a it's interesting to play that because I've played a lot of really, you know,
Not nice
conflict,
guys.
conflicted people. Well, I mean, it depends. If you ask their mother, I'm sure the mom would say they're all wonderful. Uh, uh, but yeah, colorful characters.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks.
brother. See you next time.
Michael Morbius. Discover who you're meant to be. The bad guy. Michael, what have you done?
I was trying to help people.
but the cure. It's a curse.
Michael.
I have powers that can only be described as superhuman. But there's a cost. Now, I face a choice. To hunt. And consume blood. Or die.
We all have monsters within us. It's up to us to control it.
What if I can't?
Michael Morbius. You've been given a gift.
Not exactly.
Time to let go of what you used to be.
Discover who you're meant to be.
All our lives we've lived with death. Why shouldn't they know what it feels like for a change? Just accept who you are.
The bad guy.
Morbius.
Holy water? Really?
Yeah. You ever see Lost Boys?
Story of my life.
A new Marvel Legend arrives exclusively in movie theaters April 1st.
Hey Chris, how are you? Good to meet you.
I'm good. How are you? Hey, just want to say I saw The Forgiven at TIFF, and I thought it was amazing. You're so good.
Oh, no way. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's good, isn't it?
It's amazing. I liked it a lot. It's one of my favorite movies of the year. I'm glad it's coming out.
Wow. Right, yeah, he's clever, John. I'm really excited. I don't know when it's coming out. I think we're coming to New York with it. I don't know. It's something like that. But yeah, cool.
So I got to ask you, when you get to play a role like Morbius and you get to play the villain, is it a treat for you to be able to kind of, I would say cut loose a little bit compared to playing something like more like Prince Philip, and not necessarily chew the scenery, but kind of have a little more, know, is that something that you look for in a part nowadays?
Yeah, I guess so. It's a chance to have a lot of fun, isn't it, on a film set? Sort of a bit of thirst and monster action and superpowers, and being the bad guy is kind of interesting, I think, and getting to fly and getting to sort of portray your best. Yeah, it is. It's a chance. In many ways, you can be a bit bigger.
Sure.
At least I like to think you can. I don't know if one pulls that off, but yeah, I think so. I think it's a very pertinent point, certainly.
When you do a movie like this, though, do you find it's also important to ground the character somewhat? Because I mean, Milo is grounded somewhat. Like he has his physical limitations, right? And I think we all do. And then what would you do if given the chance and you had none of that to worry about?
Yeah, I think very much so. And I think with where he came from in his youth, great affluence, always searching for this cure, never quite getting there. His friend then discovering it and not being allowed to be part of that whole discovery and ownership of it, and always sort of searching for something else. And it's like getting the golden goose, and having it snatched away from you. And it makes him go a bit bonkers, which is understandable, isn't it? I think.
I probably would if I was a vampire too, I think.
I'd fly around and, why not? I'd be a vampire, for God's sake.
So what was it like? You're working with two amazing actors. Well, I mean, you're a great actor, but you're also working with two great actors, Jared Leto and Jared Harris. I mean, the two Jareds. That must have been like,
yeah. I was in a Jared sandwich, and it was wonderful. They're both so brilliant, fabulous actors, very different processes.
Sure.
But learn a lot off them both creatively, and have great admiration for what they do on screen.
Did you enjoy kind of dipping your toe into the superhero sandbox? Because it's your first superhero movie, right? What did you think? What did you think of the experience?
I had fun, a movie of that scale, and getting, as you say, to sort of play the bad guy in something like that was also something that I wanted to do and tick off the list. And I feel quite proud to have been given the opportunity.
Are you a fan of the superhero genre yourself? Do you watch do you keep up with them?
Yeah, I mean, I have my sort of favorite superheroes in the genre of superheroes. I watch certain superhero movies. I can't claim to watch every single one, but I don't know if lots of people do. But I've always liked the sort of the darker edge. I've always loved Batman.
Oh yeah, of
Batman's
course.
my favorite. He's my favorite superhero, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, and this is the thing. Kind of one of the cool things about Morbius also is that you guys get to dig into horror a little bit, right? So that
Exactly.
must have been kind of cool, getting into the horror, trying to actually be scary. I don't think you often get villains that actually get to be scary, and that was one of the things I liked about Milo in the film.
Really? Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, and I've only lately, really, in the last sort of 2 years of my life, I've really got into sort of horror movies.
Yeah, well, between this and Last Night in Soho and Charlie
Yeah,
Said,
yeah, and I really get into like zombie films. I've just sort of developed a late passion for zombie movies. I don't know if, yeah, I don't know why. I'm really into them at the moment. So yeah, it felt nice. Hopefully, if we're part of that pantheon in some small way.
well, you were absolutely. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
It's really nice to meet you. Have a great day.
Michael Morbius. Discover who you're meant to be. The bad guy.
Michael, what have you done?
I was trying to help people. But the cure.
It's a curse.
Michael.
I have powers that can only be described as superhuman. But there's a cost. Now, I face a choice to hunt and consume blood or die.
We all have monsters within us. It's up to us to control it.
What if I can't? Michael Morbius.
You've been given a gift.
Not exactly.
Time to let go of what you used to be. Discover who you're meant to be.
All our lives we've lived with death. Why shouldn't they know what it feels like for a change? Just accept who you are.
The bad guy.
Morbius.
Holy water? Really?
Yeah. You ever see Lost Boys?
Story of my life.
A new Marvel Legend arrives exclusively in movie theaters April 1st.
How's it going?
All good, all good. Here we are.
Good. So, Daniel, I have to ask you, one of the things I really liked about the movie was some of the nods to horror. I liked that the ship was called the Murnau, and you did like an Iris Inn at one point. I thought that was really cool.
Yes,
I
nice.
wanted to ask if that was fun, bringing some horror elements into the superhero genre, because we don't see that much.
Yeah, it was a blast because first, I didn't know if I was allowed, because, horror has been, regarded as, kind of a lesser culture, somehow. But I love horror, and I love old horror, so the more I could fit it in, you can also see, like, if you look at the desk behind him, there are other small kind of like old horror symbols. So yeah, that was a blast. I'm a nerd, so I kind of like to fill things out. Yeah.
Adria, I read something really cool that you used AOC a bit as a reference for your character. And I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, when we sort of came up with that together, we were like, how does Martine talk and stuff? And it was very much at the beginning of AOC's career. And it was, it's a woman that comes from lower income to middle class family who has pushed herself to be where she is right now and really relies on her intellect and is not afraid to interrupt a man, is not afraid to be the smartest in the room. And I think Martine is very much like that. She's not afraid to sometimes correct Dr. Morbius and be wrong or right. I think she's the only person that has the courage to talk to him a little bit, stronger, and to tell him when he's right and when he's wrong. So that part of it, and the way that she speaks with such conviction, was really much where I went towards AOC.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. So as a self-proclaimed nerd, was it fun playing in the Marvel Sandbox? And are you psyched to now kind of be part of the multiverse? I'm
psyched. I'm super psyched. But it was also terrifying, because I've been sitting on the other side, just filling myself with hate, talking, because that's what you do. You like to kind of decipher things and find the wrongs, and then suddenly you're on the other side of that microscope. But I think that this next couple of years within the Marvel world is going to be very exciting, and I think it's going to be very thrilling to see over how we are going to deal with, this new world. One, as you know, the kind of multiverse has existed in the Marvel universe for decades. So as a person who loves comic books, it was something we've been waiting for.
Sure.
So, and I think it's gonna give clever and interesting ideas in the future.
Adria, one of the things that I liked about your character specifically in a movie like this is that they're not always, when you get a big superhero movie, it's easy to lose the focus on the characters because of all the action and stuff. But I thought that you did ground the movie to a certain extent because you had a really great relationship with Leto's character in the film with Morbius, and I liked the whole maybe not a romance, but like the quasi romance between the two of you. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because that was something that I thought was fresh and original.
Oh, thank you, by the way.
Oh, pleasure.
I'm flattered. I think that is really all Daniel. I think Daniel, like I think I've said before, that
it's not true. I mean, it's also because you're like a God-given talent, one of the strongest actresses, that's also part of it,
I mean, I just think he really set the bar up really high for all of us, and wasn't afraid to challenge us and wasn't afraid to push us. He wanted to make the best version of this movie possible, and I love their relationship. As a true romantic at heart, there was something that sort of broke inside of me every time I read a scene with them. They did have this ticking time bomb and of time. They didn't know how much they had left, and so that would sort of push them away for each other. They were like, why would we do that? Why would we hurt each other more? And that sort of always broke my heart. So when the whole transformation happens and the idea of that possibility opens, it's daunting, I think, on both of them, and I don't think neither of them know how to handle it. So I love that. I love that sort of romantic through line, but they both they stand their own ground as individual characters, and that's on this guy.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you making time.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Michael Morbius. Discover who you're meant to be. The bad guy.
Michael, what have you done?
I was trying to help people. But the cure,
It's a curse.
Michael.
I have powers that can only be described as superhuman. But there's a cost. Now, I face a choice. To hunt and consume blood. Or die.
We all have monsters within us. It's up to us to control it.
What if I can't?
Michael Morbius. You've been given a gift.
Not exactly.
Time to let go of what you used to be. Discover who you're meant to be.
All our lives we've lived with death. Why shouldn't they know what it feels like for a change? Just accept who you are.
The bad guy.
Morbius.
Holy water? Really?
Yeah. You ever see Lost Boys?
Story of my life.
A new Marvel Legend arrives exclusively in movie theaters April 1st.